He was a die-hard white-collar criminal, sentenced to a total of 14 years in prison. A year after he was released from prison in 2012, he started Agape Connecting People, an organization committed to providing equal employment opportunities for marginalized segments of society. In 2016, he received the Social Entrepreneur of the Year award and the President's Volunteerism and Philanthropy Award. Anil David, welcome to Inconvenient Questions.
Hi, Vishwa. Thank you for having me on your baby, because I've been following this and I really enjoy the Inconvenient Questions because it really does give a very unsanitized questions and answers. Interesting.
Yes, and well, that is exactly what's going to happen in this interview as well.
Sure.
First of all, I mean, what does Agape do? What's the main work that you do, and why the name Agape?
Okay, Agape, it's a Greek word that means unconditional love. And when I had this name that went on my mind, it was a name that both me and my wife were the one who actually chose this name with about 10 names that we have. But when I look at Agape, I had a very sentimental connection to it because I've seen that unconditional love from two groups of people. The first one was my wife, and she, over all the nonsense that I did for the last many years, she showed unconditional love towards me. And
She forgave you.
Yes, that's right. And the second is about the only friend that I have who still shows unconditional love until today, and he still stood with me and still forgive me, is my friend, the only friend I call it, and I call him, his name is Bud. He has shown unconditional love. These two people have been very instrumental in forming this name. Now, the question, if you ask, why did I build Agape out? I have only one thing in my heart and my mind. I wanted to do something, the purpose, that the meaning behind it, to have my daughters to be proud, that they can be proud of their father, because they've got nothing to be proud, totally embarrassed. That was the first driving force. The second was, I wanted to find a way that I could actually help many other ex-offenders like me come out of their cocoon and live life with dignity. And I thought that this was probably one draft because it has helped me a lot. And I find that I wanted to play it forward. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a blessing to others, help others just like me to find meaning and purpose. That was the reason why I built it.
Well, let me play the devil's advocate here, Anil.
Please do.
Right. You were a white collar criminal.
Yes.
And probably one of the best. You had the gift to go out there and trick people. And you've done all kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are extremely good in winning people's confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why can't this also be one of those ploys? I mean, if I want to play the devil's advocate, at the end of the day, this could be a very clever marketing ploy because it gets people on board. It gets people to feel good about you and for you.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, can a leopard really change its spots? Have you really changed, or is this just another charade?
Okay. Change is not defined by what I say. Change is going to be defined by what others see. And no need a test of time. It's been 10 years now. Each day is a day of choice. I have to make a choice daily. I could fall anytime. But there are certain measures that I have made to ensure that I remain in this environment, that the environment that shapes my thought process, that my values are very important. And that is an environment which I built in Agape because I do not believe that I have the power or anyone has the power to change another person. I believe in an environment. If the environment is good, that environment will help to mold that person. That person can grow, can actually flourish, can aspire. So I'm in that environment. I choose my friends. The thing is that my past will always be behind me, but I always remind myself in front. And I always tell people about the past that, anything there is, right? So what I do is that I'm very mindful and very careful. And there are things that I don't get involved in, like in the company. I don't get involved in finance matters. I have no influence on this. I do not have. We put in processes and framework. Again, I chose my friends. I chose my investors, which they also see. And I also say, this is an area that I cannot be in. I should be able to do what I am good at. And to do that, right, there is an accountability process that I got to do it daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. All these are processes and framework. It's only when there are no check and balances, right? It's very scary. So
but you see, Anil, I hear you.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way, right?
Sure.
You tried many times to change your ways.
Yes.
But you failed.
Mm-hmm.
And why can't this be yet another account where you believe you changed, but maybe you have not? How sure are you that you have changed, that you have turned over a new leaf? How sure are you?
Let me bring you about the subject of change. Prison is a breeding ground. It breeds a small-time criminal into a bigger-time criminal. This is something that is not possible, and that's the reality. I always coin this story, there's an old prison and there's a new prison. In the old prison, and the first time that I was in there, what happened, right? It got me more matured into criminal activities. It kind of helped me graduate. Let me give you a picture on what's the situation it was. You sit in a room, there are about 4 or 5 people inside, and here you're a first timer going in, and you're talking to one guy. One guy just does a crime of, say, $500, gets caught. The other one does for 50,000. The other one does for $1 million. And one guy just smokes ganja, and the other one smokes heroin. You know, it's a breeding ground. You exchange stories. You have 23 hours locked up in a cell. Your mind is being transformed and renewed, garbage in, garbage out. The stronger one will influence the weaker ones. So the first time I graduated, the second time I graduated into a criminally more active person, because the old prison was such. They are not the kind of, today, when 2004 happened in prison, that's when the launch of the Yellow Ribbon came out. There was a change. The old prison was very transactional. I go inside to a 7-Eleven, I pay $10, I buy, and that's it, because there's a transaction. But when I was on the third stint, right, the officers, there was a paradigm shift. The processes, the whole vision was different. For the first time, officers actually played a very important part. They were doing 3 things that I did not experience in the first 2 sentences. They were willing to give time, attention, and love. They were willing to listen and help you come out of where you were. There were new programs. There were a lot of things that were helping him to shape my thought process. So I was the recipient of the new prison, the officers, the counseling. There was more opportunities that were there. And that helped me to
And so that helped you change?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Yep.
Did something happen? For example, there was a particular CEO, right? When in 2006, you were introduced to call center work, which is what Agape Connecting People is primarily about, right?
Yep.
Now, what really inspired you? I mean, how did this particular CEO inspire you? You talked about him in your book.
Yeah. So his name is Larry. And, I was just doing my job because in prison, one of the most precious things you can do is a job. Because when you get a job, 8 hours of a day of your prison sentence is gone. So in prison, the most important commodity is how fast do you pass your time. So as I was doing my job, right, and I did a good job actually, and he noticed the quality of my work and my attitude. In a prison, and here he comes one day, he tells me, can I have a word with you? And I say, yes. He said, there is a customer compliment that has come, and it refers that work that you did, your name, David as well. And, he said, and he heard the voice log, and he was telling me that I like your attitude, the way you are positioning yourself. All the guys here always come and ask me for things like, when are we going to get a cake or when are we going to get a treat? You don't. You seem to be hungry. That moment, right, when this guy, a stranger, begin to acknowledge me, my attitude, I felt there was something that was the turning point. That was the changing period that actually
So
got
really
me.
about someone believing in you.
Yes.
And could you say a little bit more about that? Because that's for me a strong takeaway from reading a book, right?
You
Because
see,
you believe so much in self-belief and someone believing in you, and you
yeah,
have started paying it forward.
yes.
Right? Could you
Now,
share a little bit about that, the importance of belief?
now, when I came out in the year 2010, I for about 5 years, I did not call one of the close. In the entire prison sentence, there was only one person in my mind that I wanted to reconcile. And that was my friend Bart. And for 5 years, I did not call him. I started my work and I told myself that I will only go to this friend of mine where I have started doing something for myself, where I can say that I've got something that is honest, that is good, that is moving. So I remember the call that I made in him. This is Anil. The second word he asked me, when you came out, I told him when. And he started scolding me on the phone, why are you calling me so late? And we met immediately the next day and we sat down. And, again, this was the second most important person, right, who actually believed in me. And I remember what he said. Say, Anil, he told me this, there are no bad people in this world, just wrong choices. And I'm still here and I believe that you can make good of what you want for your life. He believed in me. So I realized that I was coming in an environment where there were people who were able to believe in me. And he was another one who endorsed it. And these are the people that I cannot disappoint.
Now, would you say that much as there are individuals who believe in you,
Yes.
unfortunately, society has a significant number of people who find it hard to forget your past, who
That's
find
true.
it hard to forgive, who find
Yeah.
it hard. I mean, for example, what I just asked you earlier on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can a leopard change its spots? There's so much of skepticism, worse, cynicism, that
Mm-hmm.
people can actually change.
Mm-hmm.
And that prevents us from giving people a second chance.
Mm-hmm. Now, a leopard, if it's put in a good environment, even that leopard can change a spot. You put a leopard in a toxic environment, it's not going to change. And the reality of what you say is true. I've made it that everyone from my customer to my vendors, they know my past. The option and choice for them to decide to work with me is theirs. And I have to work 10 times harder. As an ex-offender, I come from I don't come from a level playing field. I know that as a reality. If that guy's got to work 6 hours, I know as an ex-offender, I had to work 16 hours
To
in
win the
order
trust.
to redeem myself. I redeem myself with only one currency, my attitude. Because attitude is a priceless commodity. You will look at that person, yeah, this guy is an ex-offender, but his attitude is very attractive. Just as the guy, Larry, the CEO of the company that I work in prison, when I came out from prison, he said, I like your attitude. And he was willing to write a $20,000 check to start the company.
So,
Attitude.
how do you feel sometimes, Anil, when you meet people who are not prepared to believe you, who
I'm,
still think that you can't change?
I am not affected by it, actually. I am not affected by it because I have a closure in my heart. I have said that everyone that I have wronged, I have attempted to ask forgiveness. But you know what? I also know that some don't want to forgive. It's okay. But for my own good, the closure in my heart is done. I have settled the matter in my heart. But the other person, I have control on how I can respond, but I have no control on how people want to respond. That's the way life is. You win some, you lose some. So I've accepted this. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time for you to share with us the nature of your work, your company. In a nutshell, what exactly does Agape Connecting People do?
I less like to say I've not worked for the last 10 years because this work that I do, there is something very, working in a call center for an ex-offender is probably the most powerful, effective rehabilitative tool. If I were to wait out and share 3 areas where ex-offenders suffer as they don't have these life skills. The first one, active listening. You know, most of the guys and girls who are in prison, they are just not listeners. You know, I didn't listen to my parents. I didn't listen to teachers. You know, that's one. Secondly is effective communication. And third one is patience. So there are many values, but all these 3 life very powerful lessons, they get to learn it inside the call center. Now, I'll give you an example. What we do, we are a 24/7 contact center providing call center support. The customers, the members of the public will call in a particular logistic company, a healthcare company, a entertainment company, an insurance company, or a telco company. We will be the backend picking up the calls, handling the complaints, the issues, or even doing a sales transaction. So this is what we do. We are the back-end fulfilling staff that you possibly could be calling even today. And some of it are probably being routed to the prison.
And the unique factor here is that most of them who are attending to the calls are active people in prison.
That's right. They are prisoners who serve time in the women's prison as well as in the men's prison.
So it is currently located in the women's prison, right?
That is correct. That's right.
And you have another call center outside as well.
That is right.
That is managed by whom?
By us itself. My team.
Your team members, are they also ex-convicts, ex-prisoners?
We have a mixture. For example, we have a blend of non-offending background. We also have professionals. There has to be a balance into the ecosystem to allow the company to grow.
Yes.
It is not wise to have all 100% because I think that is not a business sense wise to.
Not only that, it's not good for the prisoner, ex-prisoners as well, because they need to normalize their lives by interacting with people who are regular people, right? Who don't have that background.
Besides being a call center, we are also a skills future training academy, WSQ courses that we conducted. You know, as of the 16th of December, 24 of our staff who have even primary education have just graduated with a diploma. Now, what does the value of that diploma means? That means this person now, starting salary will start with $2,300 instead of the $1,000, $3,500 range.
But diploma in what? In what?
Leadership. And it's recognized by the Skills Future, which we are a vendor.
Where do you actually conduct these?
Okay, we conduct it in the prison as well. We also conduct it in our own training academy in Tai Seng. We have actually expanded our business where we have training rooms. Each rooms can accommodate about 20 people. We show social distancing. We have got about 3 rooms and other sub-training rooms.
So in prison, okay, what could you share with us? It must have been quite challenging for you to persuade the prison authorities to actually set up a call center there. How did you manage to get this done?
I'm still trying to figure an answer to that, but I think that they probably had a bigger challenge. They were probably trying to think, can we allow an ex-offender to run a business that's probably the most sensitive? I think they had a harder time. But I think that before that, there was already a 2 years of track record. The business that we were doing outside from 2012 to 2014, before the first call center, the prison started in 2014, there was really a track record where 10 ex-offenders that are coming to us to work, 9 of them do not go back to crime. So there was a track record of which we were acknowledged by the government. I got an award for this. And I think that formed the basis for them to say, and you know, as 2004, as I mentioned, there has been a change ever since the yellow ribbon. The yellow ribbon is a emblem of saying, give a second chance. The environment was changing.
And you were able to demonstrate that what you were doing was helping to rehabilitate.
Yes. And I positioned to them and say, look, guys, I am a product of your system. I learned this skill outside. It changed and transformed, gave me new habits, new lifetime, new life skills. Now I'm doing here. 2 years I've been doing here. What do you say? They like the proposal, they like the idea, and they say, let's give it a try.
What kind of support, Anil, besides the prisons? What are the other kinds of people who've come forward to make what you're trying to achieve happen?
A very important thing is funding, but I'm not going to go into the area of funding because somehow or other that one did happen. But I think that a very important thing that Agape success, right? And there are individuals who have come and nurtured me, mentored me, and showed me a lot of things that I may not know on how to think like a businessman, on how to manage situations, things like that. I remember one of a very important thought. There are no great things, only small things that I have to do with great love, and happy are those. And I came across people who are willing to teach me and nurture me. I would call a friend of mine whom I came to know at 11 p.m. I say, hey, I'm sorry to call you so late with the WhatsApp. Do you have 10 minutes of time? I just need to have some wisdom and advice from you. There were pockets of people available. And I think that really, and these are the people that I chose who would give me an honest feedback on how I should, and allow me, then they'll say, Anil, you need to think the right way to do it and how. So I have access to this kind of people, and they were the one who helped me. Like I would say again, my closest friend, my devil's advocate has been Bart. I will tell him a situation, and he will come next morning over coffee, we will talk about it, he will guide me. And other people's, I had access to these people, and they helped me to think clearly. And I read a lot, I study a lot, I try to pick up all these little things that I can apply from other people's.
Yeah, you also got a very big recognition from the government recently by being awarded probably one of your biggest contracts, for National Care Hotline, to manage the National Care Hotline for COVID-19. Could you share with us very quickly what that really meant for you?
When COVID happened, right, I got a call, and I got a call from the ministry itself saying that we want to do something. And in order to set up a line like this, it usually takes 2 months. It's a lot of process, a lot of time taken. But we had a very short period. So I told the caller, would you be able to give me 1 day to give you a reply? I will be able to give you a reply by tomorrow, the next day by 10 a.m.
Whether you can man the hotline or not.
Whether I can start it off, because the pandemic just came unprepared. So the next day I met all my team, my stakeholders, my managers and all. I told them, guys, we know that this pandemic has crippled everybody's mind, and we're all living in fear. We're just not so sure. But today we have an opportunity to serve the nation, to serve these people who just don't know what to do. And I presented to them that in order to do this right, every one of you would probably have to work 10, 12, 15, 16 hours a day. We need to work as a team. This is a time and opportunity that we can serve humankind and the nation itself. Are you on? Everyone said, okay. We knew what we are getting into, and we informed the partners that we're willing to. We got the opportunity, and the team did very well. And I think even still today we are doing it. That was the test, the acid test that we could actually deliver. And we did a fairly good job in the sense that we got recognition, we were acknowledged, and I think that the team is so thrilled. And I think that was the moment, not so much of getting that opportunity to get a contract, the opportunity to serve the nation, and done by someone who has benefited a lot from the system with a very smelly past. I think that speaks volume.
Well, I think that's the best note to end this interview. Anil, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you for what you've achieved and what you continue to do. And what you're doing, if I may say, is God's work.
Thank you. Indeed,
Thank
it
you.
is.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.